back to the channel. In this video, the client has purchased a 40x60 kit from Koverage. They're going to be using it for offices on the lower floor, and then the upper floor, some storage and potentially a bonus room. In this video, Keith is going to show us step-by-step how to build a stud frame kit from Koverage. But first, I want to take you back to the warehouse where Keith stores all the materials and he does all the prep work for the kit packages that he delivers.
So this is where we have all our materials stocked. We have windows, walk doors, overhead garage doors. We also have our trusses outside. Have all our treated, and we pre-cut all our studs and purlins. The guys over there are pre-cutting one of our kits for studs. They're marking them, cutting them, and purlins as well.
So we have to have these things on 4-foot center for the trusses. So we're marking these out, and then we just throw them up and everything is marked out. Makes it a lot faster.
Here is a 40x60. What we like to do to start is I like to have the 3/4 minus gravel to screed it to roughly within an 1/8 is nice, because the bigger the building goes, you know, if you're off a 1/4 inch, you can be off with yardage for concrete 2 to 3 yards. So it's nice to get that pretty accurate. And then what we'll do is we'll put 4 stakes in, one in each corner, and we'll square it, get exactly where you want the building. And then we'll paint a line, and then you can trench your footers right there along that line. And I like to go roughly 8 to 9 inches wide and around 2 feet deep. And then we'll put the forms right on that line so that your forms come straight up off the footer. And we'll keep the height of that forms 3.5 inches above your finished screeded gravel. Then you'll put your outriggers roughly every 4 feet, is what we normally do. Every other outrigger, we'll put 2 stakes so you can make sure you can get the height set good. We'll string line from corner to corner and move the form in and out so that when you set your wall later on, you have a nice straight line and edge.
And this is for the height. So we do the back one first to adjust the form, make sure it's straight with the string that we have strung up to both corners, and then this one here for the height.
We also will measure every 3 foot, because our rebar is 3-foot grids. So we'll paint line every 3 feet and just lay them down. It's just cosmetic, but it's nice to have your rebar, you know, nice and straight. So all your material is going to be packaged together. So right here we would have your bottom and top plates are all going to be together. Here you're going to have your wall purlins will all be together, and then you'll have the treated 2x4s are going to be your bottom purlin, and then they'll be with your wall purlins. And then you'll just have a lot of extra 2x6s for framing your windows, your subfascia. But all your top plates, your double top plates, will all be together with your green treated here. And then we have over there, all your studs will be pre-cut and will be all together. And then on the other side of the lift over there, we have all your roof purlins all cut and marked. So once you get your trusses up, you can just throw all your purlins up on the roof and they will be cut and marked. And they will be all banded together as well. So we try to keep all your wall purlins together, your double top plates all together, bottom plates, and then all your studs, and then all your roof purlins will be together as well. So the first thing we want to do is we want to lay out our top and bottom plate. So first of all, we leave an 1.5 inch gap here. So the reason why we do that is we need to have room for our purlins to be nailed on the end here. So for our wall metal, we'll go down the purlins down over, you know, on the other side of this ledge here. And you can see how all the walls are set in 1.5 inches from the concrete. So when we put our bottom treated board on, it needs to go that way a little bit, but it's flush here. So just put your walls all inset 1.5 inches, and then when you put your board here, it matches up with your other purlins, and then your base trim will go over your concrete joint here. So we keep our walls 1.5 inches back from the corners, and then for the length to start out, you want to always have your trusses land on a stud. So it's very critical to get your studs on a 2-foot layout. So what we do is we hook onto the concrete, and then I can measure over here 16 feet, and our joint is at 16 feet. So this board is going to be 1.5 inches less because I hooked on the concrete over there. So that board is 1.5 inches. But so the layout is off the concrete. So when you hook on your concrete, your joint should be at the 16 foot. And then this next board top plate can be 16 foot, and so on down the line. And then when you get to the other end, you just make the board 1.5 inches less, so that the board is 1.5 inches in from that other corner. And then to mark out your 2-foot layout, you can just hook on to the joint here, and then it'll be 2 foot. Your studs are all 2 foot. So we just hook on to our joint here and put a mark here, 2 foot. All your studs should be off of the joint because we measured off the corner. So, and then you could transfer, we'll put our top plate and our bottom plate together and put the marks on both the boards so that they're the same. And then, yeah, then you'll get all your 2-foot on center studs. And then you can, then when we start doing our purlins, they're 2'4" apart. So they're 28 inches apart. So what we'll do, just so that we can keep all our purlins nice and straight, we'll hook on to the bottom here, and it's 2'4". Every 2'4", so then it's 56, 7 foot, so on. So what we do is we normally mark every other stud. So here's 2'4", 56, 84, and so on, go the whole way, and we mark every other stud. So every other stud will have a up and down mark. So when we put these purlins on, if the bottom of your wall goes up and down a little bit, these purlins will go up and down a little bit as well. So when you stand your wall up, the purlins will be nice and straight. So just mark every other stud at 2'4", so 28 inches apart. And then these, we usually run on this here is a 18-foot wall, so we ran 2 purlins, and this one's about 6 feet up and the other one about 12 foot up, that we mark every 2 foot on center. So that'll keep your studs from doing this number. They'll be nice and straight. So you can see these will be 2 foot on center. So you just move your stud right and left, put it in on the mark, and just nail it. So if you come from this way, you can see both the marks. So you can see right here we have a pencil mark. So that gets it up and down. And then this mark here makes the stud good for right and left. That is all I really. So around the windows, you can see we put 2x4s all the way around, and it helps seal it off a lot better. So you could caulk around here on the edge, and then your window would go right against that, so it just seals it off a little better. And so on with the garage doors and the walk doors. For the garage door openings, they are 1/2 inch less. So this is a 12 by 12, so it's 1/2 inch less on the height and the width. So the only reason I do that is just so when you put the garage door in, you have something to go against. The garage door will go against your framing. If you make your opening exact, your garage door, it won't be as stable. For the walk doors, we frame them 38 inches wide. So the real, this is just a rough opening, it will be 38 inches. The walk door is 37.5 inches. So just frame your walk doors 38 inches, and for the height, it is 82.5. This is a 4 wide, 3 high window. So you just will frame them exactly 3 foot by 4 foot. The windows are already ½ inch smaller, so that will give you room to move it, you know, up and down, right and left. So here is the double top plate I was talking about earlier. So yeah, you'll make your marks. You can see our 2 foot center marks here. That's where you'll put your studs in. So we will send along a double top plate, and you can see here's our joint. So I'll make this as another 16 foot, and so we'll just put this double top plate far apart as we can from this joint, so that when you pick up the wall, it makes it a lot more sturdy. If you put your double top plate joint here, when you pick the wall up, this is just going to bend. So just stagger the top plates like we have here. Here's the joint, and the other joint will be 8 feet that way or so. Yeah, this is 6 feet over that way. So here you could see that this gable wall is in between the eave wall, so we built them 7 inches less than the full. This is 40 feet here, so we build the gable wall 7 inches less, and then it'll go right in between your 2 eave walls.
It should be 1 inch short.
We put this 2x6 here so that the truss up there can sit on this. We want the trusses to be flush with your purlins, because there's going to be a purlin in the trusses, so your metal will screw right to your truss. Your truss needs to be in plane with the 2x4s. So we put this here bearing off of the bottom here the whole way up through, and it'll be flush with the double top plate so that your truss will sit right on top of this board here. On all of our trusses, we always mark the trusses 2 foot on center. So if you just hook onto the heel of the truss and then put a mark every 2 foot. Every 2 foot. And then go on to the top, however that works out. And then we usually put a mark from the peak down 4 inches, just so you have a purlin that's 4 inches down from the peak. Okay. And then your purlin always goes below the mark. So yeah, you find your mark and you just put the purlin below that. For the buildings that have no overhangs, you can see that the heel of the truss stops with the top plate. The reason we do that is so when we put our heel purlin on here, it is in plane with all the other wall purlins. And then what we do, a lot of people can put a 2x4 purlin right here, just like this, and then you could put a 2x6 heel purlin on here like this. But what we do is we put a 2x6 on here, and then this point here, the high point, will plane in with these purlins. And so you just don't have to put a 2x4 down here, you just put a 2x6 on edge like this. And then you just sight this board, and you can adjust it up and down to make this perfectly straight. So when you put your roof metal on, your roof line's not going like this, it's just perfectly straight. You just can sight this, move it up and down, and then nail it pretty good. And then your roof metal will just sit right on top of there, which is in plane with all these 2x4s going up the roof line. This building has no overhangs, so what we do is we nail the bottom purlin and the top purlin, and then we snap a line. Snap a line, and then you can move your truss in and out to that line, which would have been right here, and then you nail this. So yeah, you just mark the bottom and top purlin exactly where you want it in and out, and then you snap a line, and then you could cut that line off, and then you just move this truss in and out to make it right with the chalk line. And then when you put your roof metal on and your side metal on, this will just be perfectly straight the whole way from top to bottom. For a building with 2-foot overhangs, what we do is we still chalk a line right here, and then we also measure out from this point, this side of the truss, out 24.5 inches and snap another line, and then you can cut that line out there. And then when you put your soffit in, your soffit will come pre-cut at 24 inches. It's just nice to have a little bit of extra room here, just in case your soffit is a little long, or if this happens to be in and out. For your garage door openings, they will all come with a overhead door trim. So it comes with your flashing and your J-trim all in one piece. So you'll have, 3 pieces per door, and then you'll have your flashing all together with the J-trim. The walk doors will have J-trim that goes around them. And what we normally like to do is we usually take the brick mold off the door, and you can take them off or leave it on, whatever you prefer. But we usually take them off, and then we put our J-trim back from this edge about 3/8 or so, as you can see there. And just finish out your doors like this, and then this goes down past the bottom of your door 2 inches, so it'll actually be at the bottom of your base trim as well. And then your base trim, you can just go right inside your J-trim. Your base trim, we usually put at the same grade as your concrete. So the flat in your base will be the same level as your concrete. So what we do is we measure up from your concrete 1.5 inches, because this has 1.5 inch nailing flange. So if you measure up on all your corners 1.5 inches, and then snap a line from corner to corner, and then you'll just put the top of your nailing flange on the base trim right to that line, and then just staple it every 2 feet or whatever. So for grade height on the base trim, you put the flat of the base at the same grade as your concrete, and then this angle on the base will go down and cover the joint in the concrete. Our standard kits will come with a window that has J-trim already built in, so you won't need to put your metal J-trim around your windows like you do the walk doors. So it has a 3/4 by 3/4 inch J-trim. So once you put the window in, you're ready to start doing metal. The first piece of metal when you start on a wall, you want to make sure that it is plumb. And the other thing we'd like to do is make sure that the piece is sitting on the base nice. So you don't want to have a 1/4 inch gap here where it's up off the base, and here it's tight. You want to make sure that it is sitting nice and flat on the base trim. And then it is critical that this metal is not crooked. You want to, if it is, either your base is not flat or your wall is at a plumb. So either you might have to adjust your wall a little bit, or every couple sheets we will put a level on the ribs just to make sure we're not going on an angle. So just make sure when you start on a wall to make sure that your first sheet is plumb and sitting nice and flat on your base trim. When your metal comes, all your roof metal will be in one pack, and then your eave and your gable metal will be all together. You can see that there's a whole bunch of sheets here. This is your sidewall metal, and then you can see it's staggered 1 foot increments. This is for the gable, and they'll have 4 pieces of each, two pieces per gable. So when we start cutting for the gable, it's a 4/12 pitch, so it'll just be a 1 foot angle from the high side down. You'll measure down 1 foot, and then that'll give you your right pitch for your roof. So it's a 4/12 pitch, and in 3 feet it'll go down 1 foot. Putting a 4/12 pitch on it. trying to keep the corner trim nice and square with the base trim as well. I like to screw the bottom first, and then I'll come up here and move this right where I want it, and screw the top and bottom first, and then screw the in the middle next. On these screws for your corner trim, a lot of times I'll ream them out to make the hole in the trim bigger, so when it gets hot, your trim doesn't oil can. So if you make your hole in your trim bigger so that it can move a little bit, it'll help prevent your trims from oil canning.